And joining me now in studio is Mr. Mike Manahan. Mike is a spokesman for EPAZ Incorporated. Their stock symbol's EPAZ. Mike, always good to see you.
Thanks for having me again.
Now, you folks put out a very interesting press release this week. It's about something called Zena Pay. I know we've been kind of alluding to this in recent weeks, but it's now reality. Tell us about Zena Pay.
Yeah, this is really, really exciting. Zenapay, just
Zenapay,
like
okay.
Zen, you know, the Buddhist monk sitting there.
There you go.
Yeah, this is a payment processing system for cannabis sales. Now, you know we have a big problem in the United States. We've got 29 states now that have legalized in one form or another the sale of cannabis. But our federal government that controls the banking industry still says cannabis is illegal and against the law. So as a consequence, extremely difficult for cannabis retailers to have traditional banking relationships. So what do you do? How do you take payments from customers? Right. What do you do with the money? Zenapay is the solution to that.
Well, how does it work? Because, I mean, right now, dispensaries, you can go down here in Hollywood, down Melrose, and there's a dispensary about every third building, and they're basically taking cash, which is kind of dangerous. Yeah,
it's very dangerous because they build up large quantities of cash, and the bad guys know they're sitting there with bucket loads of cash. So theft and robbery is a big thing. They have to have super tight security systems. But Zenapay basically uses the Bitcoin platform.
Ooh.
Yeah, so basically what happens is when you go in, you're at the retailer, you're ready to buy some medical marijuana as an example. You purchase your Bitcoin currency through the Zenapay application, and then you use the Bitcoin currency to pay the cannabis retailer.
So it circumvents the banks altogether. You're basically taking actual U.S. currency, converting it to Bitcoin, using Bitcoin to make the purchase, and then, of course, the dispensary can then, at some point in time, reconvert the Bitcoin back to U.S. currency.
Absolutely. Or they could use the Bitcoin to pay their suppliers. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you know, there's some advantages to Bitcoin. It's first of all, it's kind of outside, as you mentioned, the traditional banking industry, which means it's confidential. Because people, you know, I don't know if everybody realizes, but the federal government is watching everything you do with a credit card and everything you do with your bank account, every single transaction. So it's confidential. It's cross-platform. You can use your laptop, you can use your computer, you can use your cell phone, and it's got so much versatility to it in terms of using Bitcoin.
Well, as you said, they're watching everything. They're watching this show right now. Hi, how you doing? Glad to see you. Thanks for joining us. But again, seriously, you know, by circumventing the Treasury or circumventing the banks, it eliminates that minor problem that the dispensaries have had where they could not get access to bank accounts to make their deposits.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I don't think it's that the banks don't want to bank the cannabis industry. They would love to, because if the banks can get their hands on money, they're going to do it. But the federal regulators, when they come in and audit those banks, they're very, very tough on who the banks are opening up bank accounts for. So yeah, it circumvents the traditional banking system, and there you have it. It's just it's a fantastic idea and concept.
Well, you mentioned 29 states, and every one of the legislative bodies in the 29 states were looking at one thing and one thing only, in the potential revenue. Now, I wasn't very kind to Congress at the top of the show, but you know, you have to think that, you know, people in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, the Senate, and everything else, they're also looking at the potential revenue. At some point in time, we're going to reach a tipping point, you would think.
Well, we will on the federal level, but you know, the federal government right now has so many major projects underway that far exceed their attention to the cannabis industry. I mean, they're dealing with tax reform, they're dealing with the healthcare system reform. There is so much going on for them to change the rules with respect to cannabis, it's way down on the list. But in the meantime, the cannabis industry is growing. $4 billion in California this year, projected to be $7 billion by 2020. $7 billion industry just in the state of California.
Of course, California represents the sixth largest economy in the world now. You have a new website, Zenapay.com. What can people find at this website?
Yeah, Zenapay.com. You can go there. You can actually sign up for the beta version of this particular product. You can see how it works. If you're a cannabis retailer, it's definitely the solution for you. Go to Zenapay.com. And if you are a cannabis purchaser and you're looking for, how can I have a better way of paying for my cannabis than forking over cash, go to Zenapay.com. And by the way, we really need to mention the revenue model here, because that's really exciting.
Well, tell us about that.
Okay, here's the deal. Just like a credit card processor who basically clips a little fee for every transaction, that is the model for Zena Pay. So every dollar that goes through the system, every Bitcoin dollar that goes through the system, EPAZ through Zenapay is going to collect a small portion of that transaction.
So basically, EPAZ has become a merchant processor for the cannabis industry, and they can do that in all 29 states that it's legal?
Yes, using the Bitcoin platform.
Using the Zenapay platform?
Yeah, the Zenapay,
Okay.
Zenapay/Bitcoin platform.
Now, are there any kind of licensing hurdles on a state-by-state basis that the company has to go through, or is it basically business as usual like a credit card company?
Business as usual like a credit card company.
That's amazing. Once again, the company is EPAZ Incorporated. EPAZ is their stock symbol. Check out that website at zenapay.com. Mike, this is truly fascinating. Thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Thanks for having me.